welcome to this episode of Career Shorts hosted by the Antibody Society, where we talk to a whole host of individuals from various sectors, including industry and academia, to gain their valuable insight into how PhD students and postdocs can navigate the tricky world after their studies and contracts. In this episode, we're talking to Owain Walsh, Senior Recruitment Consultant at CY Partners. Now, these episodes and more are all available directly on the Antibody Society website and social media pages. So we hope you enjoy and you find this a valuable exchange, and let's get into it. Hey Owain, welcome to Career Shorts. Let's start off by, if you'd be able to tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and how you entered recruitment.
Yeah, hi, and thank you for having us as well. Really keen to see kind of what you guys are doing as part of the society, and thanks for having me along. So my role, I work for a company called CY Partners. We're a recruitment consultancy with a focus within the sciences. I'm a more senior consultant here that focuses within our life science and biotech kind of wing, if you like, with those kind of clients within that sector. My own background and where I've come from to get into recruitment, I was a science graduate. Graduated in 2013 from the University of Sheffield, did a biomedical sciences degree. Finished that degree and kind of knew, to be personally honest, the lab environment wasn't something I wanted to pursue. I wanted to look at something more commercial. Didn't think it would be recruitment. Did fall into it a little bit. Just got chatting with another recruiter about opportunities they had, and next thing I know, I've been doing this for 7 years. Slowly kind of working my way into something a little bit more specialist and a bit more niche, to the point where I am now with CY Partners supporting the kind of the life science candidates looking for roles within that field and that sector, supporting a number of roles across the industry, from research through to kind of again more kind of commercial posts, scientific sales and marketing to clinical.
Awesome. And would you be able to expand a little bit on that? You know, for someone that's unfamiliar with what you do, can you explain, what is a recruiter and what does the work entail?
Yes, certainly. I know sometimes, people are a bit unsure, and I think often we're seen a little bit as the kind of go-between, if you like, between clients and clients within the sector looking for candidates, and thus candidates looking for new jobs. And that's certainly to a part and true, but I think we offer as well a little bit more in terms of really helping clients to find their recruitment processes, where they can find talent, best ways to go about that, and thus candidate as well. We're here to help them find jobs too, and be that support for candidates looking for posts in this sector, and help them through the process as well. So certainly that kind of that go-between. CY Partners, we're an external agency to our companies, but the way that we like to work, and I suppose where CY Partners comes up, is we kind of pride ourselves on creating kind of a partnership with the clients to really help them deliver a good recruitment experience, and thus candidates as well looking for jobs, we can help them find their next career, the next step that they want to take.
Yeah. And I had it on my list of questions to probably ask later, but since you've kind of touched upon it now, where can we find the best opportunities, and what roles have platforms like LinkedIn played in? Because I guess you mentioned speaking to companies where they can find the best talent and that sort of stuff. So would you be able to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, certainly. I suppose from a candidate perspective, I would definitely say, if you're looking to step into industry, think about things like LinkedIn is just every year is becoming a more kind of go-to. We ourselves, we advertise on there. We advertise our kind of clients' jobs through the other platforms, Indeed, mainstream total jobs, onto certain other little niche things like New Scientist. But time and time again, it all comes more often than not back to LinkedIn. So if you're a candidate looking, certainly look to get your profile on there, to be quite concise as well about your skills and what you're after. I would certainly say LinkedIn is a place to go and really think about the network as well. Don't be afraid to connect and follow companies you're interested in, connect and follow with recruiters like myself as well, because we ourselves are building our own network with our clients and who we work with. So that's definitely a place I would really recommend getting in touch with. And then likewise with our own site, we do keep regular updates of who we're working with on our own website, and we're always open for conversations for candidates looking looking for the next opportunity, definitely.
And how does a company approach you for a particular position?
Yeah, so companies, I mean, they themselves might be just looking for a specialist like us. They know, because of the way that we're set up, we're, I suppose, networking within markets that they find useful. You know, candidates within the sciences, they'll be like, right, we need a certain one with a certain skill. Let's approach CY. Hopefully, they'll be networking within those circles. So we get approached, and through ourselves as well, we're always doing what we can to build our networks and our knowledge of the sector. And naturally, like anything, these conversations lead to, you know, conversations with clients and customers that go, do you know what, we've got a project coming through in a couple of months. We need to be thinking about who we're going to have and what kind of talent we need. And again, those natural conversations bring in opportunities where we need to be kind of bearing in mind and looking out for talent for them. So there's probably a bit of a two-pronged of they'll come to us, and likewise, just through conversation and understanding client needs, those jobs also arise as well. So yeah, bit of both.
What sort of companies do you recruit for, and the sort of roles that you recruit for?
Yeah, so CY kind of right across the sciences. I mean, myself, as an agency, definitely typically more kind of national based within the UK. We do have a few clients outside of that, within Australia and Europe, but the bulk of the clients, yeah, definitely UK based. My focus is areas of med tech, medical devices, so companies working on most recently things like lateral flow test kits to more in vitro diagnostics, looking at things like reagents and stains used in cancer diagnostics, through to then more R&D spin outs, looking at cellular therapeutics, biopharma, and then also the big biopharma stuff as well. We supported some of our clients that have been helping with the manufacture of COVID vaccines, looking at, you know, upstream scientists as well, looking to help with the kind of production of monoclonal antibodies within drug development, and also other things like blood typing as well. Within that, job-wise, we look right across the board at clinical jobs, R&D posts within organisations looking to, you know, expand their own product range, and look at areas of research and development within their niche. Quality control, quality assurance, and then other things that may be a bit more away from labs, like technical support, like kind of, I've had roles recently as well for kind of scientific writing and commercial writing, if you like. I have a company that we're looking for an individual, quite a high kind of research-based individual that would be actually able to help them create content that was engaging, but scientifically accurate with regard to their product for publishing. So yeah, we see kind of posts right across the sector. And then the other thing as well, just to think about, and areas we recruit, we've got the classic permanent recruitment of client comes to us with a job to work for them, helping them with that recruitment, candidate over the line, to actually kind of more kind of contractors as well. We do have opportunities and a number of contractors that work through CY on assignment at some of our key clients as well. That really helps them with their own demands, if you like, as a business. And certainly avenues I would always recommend for people looking particularly to get into fields like that as an option, because contractors tend to be really very much not an immediate need, but like a need that a lot of businesses look for as a kind of quite a quick response. So sometimes if you're readily available, it's a good route to pursue.
Would you be able to give us a little bit of insight of kind of the life science sector based on your experience so far, and especially over this past year? How is the emerging life science sector as an industry to work in?
Buoyant is definitely the word I'd use. There is lots happening, and I think even each day I'm amazed at the different types of companies and kind of particularly the emerging tech that's happening right now. It feels that there's a lots of different kind of spin outs happening from the universities. There's kind of, I suppose, those investments as well, you know, like kind of leveling up in the north and in the UK. We're seeing kind of a lot of the universities growing, and that kind of opportunity for spin outs to develop. So working on, there's a few companies here in Newcastle working on quite exciting stuff with regards to kind of cellular therapeutics and kind of cancer treatments, to even more kind of niche stuff as well that we've seen, where kind of crossover between physics and medical tech companies looking at different ways of like looking at things like X-ray imaging and whatnot. So there's lots of exciting different pockets that are happening, and it feels that the spin outs are definitely key right now, and emerging kind of research and development, and there's like plenty happening.
And you know, we talked briefly before this main interview. You know, with the CY partners, it seems there's quite a lot of ongoing support between yourselves and an applicant. Can you expand a little bit on the relationship between you as a recruiter and someone like myself, for example, that wants to application, like an application interviewee, something like that, someone who wants to work in the industry?
Certainly. So I mean, so for us, our candidate network is key. It's what makes us as a business, you know. I think also important to stress there's no cost to candidates to use us. We're here to support you, but you are still key and important for us to work alongside. The way that we work is always to really understand from the candidate perspective what it is you're ideally seeking, what it is you want, but also to show you what's available as well. So we'd always approach kind of a first conversation as just that, a conversation and a chat to really get under the skin of everything, show you and tell you a bit about what we've got happening right now, what we're seeing, also help you with, you know, CV writing, CV tips, and then if we've got something suitable, as we know, we always wish that we've got jobs for everybody, but it depends a little bit on what's live, what's working on, and if we don't find you a job this time around, hopefully it's next time around if you're looking for advancement in your career as well. But we'll always guide you through that recruitment process with the clients that we're working with. You know, we'll have kind of touch points before interviews, best advice on, you know, I suppose things to kind of consider, give you a good overview of what clients after as well, and ultimately as well what the client offers, and how that might kind of tick your own career ambitions. If that makes sense. So you know, we're there to really help you through the process and ultimately put you in the best light. You know, yes, we're working for our clients, but we want to make sure that you look good in front of them as well. So we're here to help you and kind of support you through that process. You know, like I say, interview prep, CV writing, CV tips. I think we've got some good advice as well on our website that's free to look at and review to help you kind of format CVs and LinkedIn profiles as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess in terms of the availability of opportunities, is there a major difference between what is available on the company website? And I mean, do you get exclusive offers? Like, is there a particular reason and an advantage that someone would have, other than, as you stated, kind of that support in nurturing your application, that someone would want to work with you, both from an applicant perspective and from a company perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do work with some clients exclusively, so they exclusively use us as an external body to help with their recruitment. So it's always useful to be kind of chatting to us in that respect as an opportunity to kind of network with those clients. So that's definitely a key element. And I think as well, being in kind of regular contact with us, we can really help you, and us being in regular contact with you as well, can help you kind of advise of what is emerging. I mentioned before that, yes, some client will approach us with a job, say we need some help with this, but like often in the business world, kind of conversations will lead to you know, understanding what's happening for business, and if they've got projects on the horizon, things that are coming up, we can go, hey, we know there's something that might be of interest that ticks the boxes for you, you know, in a month's time, you know, be wary of this, it could be an opportunity to explore. So I think it's one of those things of always be networking and always be chatting within this sector, definitely, because there's things that, you know, whilst we advertise all our jobs, if you know, early to it certainly helps.
Yeah, and across the various positions that you've recruited for, have you noticed that there's a particular skill set or experience which companies kind of repeatedly look for?
Good question. I think with every kind of classic case, there's sometimes like, that kind of has this candidate got, you know, that specific skill or technique, ELISA, worked with antibodies before, to actually, more importantly and more so, taking that step into kind of the commercial mindset, is somebody who's who demonstrates that open-mindedness for growth, is flexible, adaptable, and I think particularly within those teams is able to work and communicate with colleagues clearly as well, and demonstrates an ability to really kind of show that empathy, if you like, for what colleagues are expecting, and what it takes to work within a commercial mindset, a commercial environment like that, with that kind of mindset.
Yeah, so kind of definitely in the soft skill development.
Yes, certainly. There's always that need, I think, because as well, businesses are always evolving and changing, so there's always an element that needs to be the case as well for their workers and those that are supporting them. So, we actually did a survey my colleague took out, looking at those that have just finished a PhD, so they within 8 years within industry, looking at their kind of transition to the sector. It's on our website, actually. It might be, get a link, somehow hover on the screen, definitely an option to do. But it kind of talks about what their kind of transition was, maybe their misconceptions as well of what they were expecting and weren't expecting. And again, the big thing they found was there was that transition away of going where the research took you to actually kind of making sure you were in line with the kind of commercial edge and I suppose where the direction that the business wants to go in, if that makes sense. So that was a good kind of indication in I suppose what they expected, or didn't expect rather, and the way it went, and also the importance of the soft skills that you've just mentioned there, and kind of what we hear of being an individual that's able to demonstrate the adaptability, the willingness to pick up new bits, new skills along the way, from that kind of commercial edge. So yeah, that was quite an interesting kind of survey and feedback that we found. And often as well, I know another thing that kind of came up was on the salary front. I always say, candidates, we work for what you're worth, but I think a lot of those moving from postdoc to industry were surprised that there was sometimes a little bit of a step down in salary, but all of them described it as a one step back to take 2-3 steps forward after a couple of years. And I think that sometimes that is because when you've been within the research environment, you've got lots of good transferable skills, but sometimes some of those important ones from a commercial point of view, of what's it actually take to take a product to market, those things are quite raw. So there's the upskilling in that's required, and actually once you've got that under your belt, then away you go. So so that was another thing that kind of came about of the survey that was quite interesting to see as well.
So kind of getting your foot in the door.
Yes, yeah, that's it as well. I think getting your foot in the door somewhere, sometimes it's just that option that just leverages everything else for you. And until you're in the world of it, only then do you really start to see it and feel it.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a good point, because especially as you're doing your degree or you're doing your PhD or whichever, it can be very focused on learning the technical skills, doing the technical skills, but kind of the nurturing of you as an individual is kind of in some cases more worthwhile, because learning the skills is important. As you said, to a particular position, you kind of have to be able to do certain things, but at the same time, it feels like everything's advancing so quickly that you need to be able to just be able to pick up new skills more importantly than having this whole array of lists, and just kind of nurturing your management skills and your communication skills, probably most importantly.
And I think that's all key. And I think the ability to keep learning as well is really important. There's the research academic side, but actually to keep learning on what it means to be a people manager, to what it means to be, a project leader, and take projects to those deadlines, those end goals as well, are really important skills. Just being organized in the way that you work and how you approach things within kind of a commercial industry. Because I think as well, there's sometimes a bit of conception that the academic world sometimes moves a bit slower to the kind of the commercial world, where they're looking for fast results, and sometimes that can be a bit of a transition. And being able to demonstrate that you can and you're adaptable to that quick change of pace is quite key as well.
I mean, how have you developed those skills, and especially as you've kind of risen the ranks in CY Partners, now being a senior recruitment, how have you been able to nurture those people management skills in your organizations? Have you found it quite a steep learning curve, or?
So yeah, so recruitment's always been one of those industries that's kind of, I would always describe as quite fast paced. It's very kind of goal and time driven. You know, clients have expectations of when they might want somebody in their business by, because if a job's not being filled, it costs them as a business because they've got a need, you know. So there's often kind of definitely requirements to ensure that you're managing processes as they go through. I mean, I feel like when I was at uni, I was maybe a bit disorganized. This job's definitely helped sort that out a little bit. And it's kind of a case of making sure, you know, you keep on top of things, definitely, but the way that you work is being able to prioritize, you know, your goals, what you've got in mind, and think with that ambition, if you like. So yeah, my own kind of personal management skills at CY, I definitely feel it's been a steep learning curve as well. You know, bringing in support and consultants, and again, managing my time with them to manage some of the actual goals of our business. But I think, like anything, it's being, I said this to somebody the other day, it's sometimes it's demonstrating that you're comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense, being pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah, it's, you know, actually it's being in scenarios that are a bit new and different, and actually enjoying the challenges that brings. Definitely in recruitment anyway.
Have you found that there are, the question before I asked you was, you know, is there a particular skill set that companies repeatedly look for? Likewise, in terms of our application, there's a life science graduate, PhD student, postdoc that wants to enter. Are there particular skills that you find they don't highlight enough, or things that, or perhaps application missteps that you commonly have to kind of reorientate them to?
Yeah, good question. I think where I can, as a consultant, I will always, with the candidates I work with, and applications, really kind of highlight their core skills, what they've got, but also who they are as a person, and the, like we touched upon before, those transferable skills, if you like, from their kind of, again, that kind of classic word of adaptability. So I'll always try and put my best across to clients we're working with. I think from the application point of view, I think it's really important now when you're putting together an application for something commercial, it's being concise. There's the classic cliche that there's recruiters out there and hiring managers that take 8 seconds to look at a CV and away it goes if it's not ticking boxes. And there's certainly of some of the people I've worked with and seen from that kind of clients is that they are looking out for keywords. They're looking out for, you know, has this person seen what our job advertisers said and what we want? Have they included that basically within the first couple of paragraphs on a CV? So yeah, in terms of an application front, yeah, it's be concise. Really think, you know, how can you highlight that within the first part of your application? Why you're relevant as well. I think that's quite an important thing to think about as well, is why am I relevant? I've had a battery running low. I must not be switched on at the plug. Give me 1 second. There we go. Hopefully that's sorted. So just before it dies there.
No problem.
Yeah, so I think that's really important as well. Actually, is being concise in the way that you put an application across, and really thinking in that application is, you know, how can I demonstrate the worth of what they're looking for as well. And again, use us as, you know, if you're using a recruitment consultancy like us, CY, use us. You know, it's our job to find that out for you as well as a candidate. Can really understand and get into the skin of the client and say, they've stressed this to us. This is really important to them and their business and the direction they're going in. Let's make sure that, you know, you understand that, and that's how it aligns to your application as well.
So the kind of custom. I didn't even. My brain's fried this morning. Kind of customizing your application specific to the position that you're applying for, and it seems like concise in terms of making sure, as you said, there's probably you guys and companies probably have hundreds of applicants. So making sure that within the first bit, they're grabbing what they need and they'll be enticed to keep reading.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's quite interesting, I mean, again, maybe coming back to my own experiences as well, you know, and I took a bit from, so I did my undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences and did the Masters of Science Communication. And it was quite interesting because that crossed over a bit with journalism and kind of science writing. And, you know, again, chatting to someone on the way that they write, you know, engaging articles is you'll usually find within the first couple of paragraphs, all the essentials are there in an article. The rest is kind of not filler, but supporting material, which is, I guess, a bit the way a CV should be written, is like, what is the nuts and bolts of it? What are my key skills? What are my key techniques that I use? My own, you know, when have I demonstrated that ability to be, you know, work within the team? You know, who have I worked with? What have I delivered on? And then think, right, below bit, what's my supporting information to that? Because, you know, it's kind of classic. People get bored the further along they read to a point where they get, right, I've read enough now. So, yeah, that's what I would always kind of advise, and I always suggest as well from any kind of application writing, just thinking, you know, what is the stuff I need to really stress right now that makes me relevant? Yeah,
so put all the juicy, interesting bits at the start, not at the end.
Definitely. I definitely think I take time to read CVs, and I've definitely seen CVs where I've got to the bottom and gone, wow, that's in the small print here, right at the bottom, that kind of a bit of research that you did, like that needs to be right at the top here. And again, we'll before we kind of submit any applications to clients, we'll go, I think this needs to be put in bold.
And have you observed that there's any, you know, regarding the degree that you earn, whether it's going just a bachelor's and master's, PhD, is there a correlation or effect between, you know, the degree you earn and the possibilities afterwards? You've kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of, you know, after you're a postdoc, sometimes you have to take a few steps back and a few steps forward, but in terms of kind of the longevity, I'm asking this in particular for, you know, there are people that want to work in life sciences, but maybe doing a PhD or something like that, it's not up their alley. They want to, it's not, they don't, or at least to start with, it's not something they want to do. So, you know, are your opportunities hindered if you don't have a PhD, or is that kind of, that's a fallacy?
Personally, I think that's a fallacy. I think what you have got to do is explain the story behind it. You've got to explain the decision making behind why you decided that PhD is no longer up your alley, and why you want to pursue something more commercial, something more in industry. You know, I think, again, coming back to the CVs and applications I've seen, whenever I see a huge gap on a CV, it's always it's like, what's gone on here? And if you leave someone thinking, they could think like, was this person that you just sitting at home doing nothing? What were they doing? You know, what was their situation? And I appreciate that kind of circumstances change for everybody, but if you're able to explain a little bit about, okay, yeah, you know, what I did gain from my PhD and what I did enjoy was this element, but I decided it wasn't for me. But what I know now, and what I want to be doing, using that going forward to apply for kind of those jobs and why those skills would be relevant, I think is really important. So I think, yeah, it's not a kind of a fallacy of, oh well, you've got a low scoring degree or not quite what you hoped for, sorry, or decided that it's not for you. I think if anything, that's sometimes quite important, being able to know what's not for you and go, you know what, I don't want that, but I do want this now. And I think it's being able to kind of explain that process. So I think knows the answer to that, and that it doesn't affect, but as long as you put the supporting evidence of why you made that decision on the direction you want to travel in.
And you've spoken about this a little bit before, but you know, what non-lab based opportunities in the life science sector are there for people who they've had enough of the lab, they no longer want to hold a pipette and they want to kind of branch away?
Hey, there's always recruitment. So you know, so yeah, there's definitely opportunities out there. And again, getting into recruitment and what I've done, I've been quite fortunate to go, oh, hang on, there's loads, isn't there? Because I think, again, I came out of university thinking, well, if it's not lab-based, what is it? A bit of, you know, scratching my head a little bit to think what opportunities are out there. And having worked with these companies, you get to see there's lots of little different posts and positions that help drive a scientific business forward. You know, I talked a bit about, you know, sales-based roles, posting kind of technical support positions, through to kind of regulatory affairs, reg affairs stuff. So sorts, you know, supporting kind of companies with their kind of product submissions to kind of global markets, what that means, to other areas of kind of quality and kind of site quality assurance as well. It's a bit of a step away from a lab-based post. There's still elements of that within that role, but it's a step away, to kind of commercial stuff as well. Like kind of, we've had marketing related posts come in as well, for science organizations and kind of PR level posts. So yeah, you know, there's lots of little different facets that you'd be like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Trying to think of other examples, like, yeah, kind of product development and product management as well, that are very much kind of project orientated of taking, right, okay, we've seen what the R&D team have done, right, how do we translate this to actual sellable product? So yeah, there's lots out there.
Cool. So it looks like you can still make use of your kind of science background and your love of science, but not have to necessarily. And it seems like these sorts of roles would definitely be harnessing more on those kind of quote unquote soft skills that you've developed as you've been developing your technical skills to really exploit and to do that.
Yeah, certainly so. And I think, again, you know, as people kind of climb their scientific career, they quickly learn they probably start to spend more time away from the lab anyway. You know, we get kind of senior posts for like senior department heads, you know, kind of microbiology managers and other roles. And within those posts, you know, majority of the time you're not at the lab bench doing the work, you're actually helping drive the team forward, looking at the company's goals, commercial side. You might even be doing, if they're like a contract service company, doing quite a lot of client meetings and actually being more client orientated, yourself within the kind of the services. So yeah, kind of one of those ones is, yeah, the further you go, actually probably the further away from the lab bench that you step.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to enter industry? They're leaving academia and they want to enter.
Yeah, I think resilience is key. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen first time around. Sometimes it does, you know. I think resilience is important. To always be looking and open as well to roles. Be flexible about things. I know that the pandemic's changed things a little bit with kind of work from home opportunities, but you know, the businesses are scattered all out across the UK and the globe as well. There's a few kind of like little hot spots around, you know, like so kind of Glasgow, down to Manchester, Cambridge, Oxford. You know, there's definitely hot spots, but don't be afraid, particularly wanting to take a step into something that you're quite passionate about, that you might have to relocate, travel. We support with that as well. So yeah, being flexible is quite an important thing, I'd definitely say. And just, yeah, open-minded to stuff. I think it's always interesting kind of networking and chatting with candidates that, yeah, they kind of don't always expect themselves to kind of travel down one particular route and find themselves, actually it opens doors to something else that ignites something else in them commercially that they weren't expecting. So I think, yeah, resilience is definitely key, and being open. And I just think, I try to think kind of thinking right person at the right time is quite key as well. So just constantly chatting, networking with people to explore. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing within the sector is it like with all these like little spin outs and little ideas that are coming in, particularly within kind of the emerging tech area, it happens very quickly. So it's, yeah, kind of right person, right time sometimes. And that's what to be the right person at the right time, you've got to be out there yourself, networking and conversing with individuals.
Has it fundamentally changed how you recruit for and the kind of field in the field of life sciences, at least in the UK, that you can speak to?
Yeah, I mean, physically, there's a lot more video meetings happening, video interviews happening. So be prepared for those, certainly. Kind of physical kind of recruitment process. Do
you think they'll stay in place, or do you think they'll eventually return back?
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they stay as kind of a classic first stage meeting, just because it offers so much flexibility, and because we certainly with like kind of roles that I mentioned, like regs and kind of clinical level posts, and we're seeing a lot of that work shift to kind of those companies are offering their workers kind of hybrid working, so doing 2-3 days at home kind of thing. So with their workforce moving more flexible, their interview processes will be a bit more flexible. So I think that will shift. We've seen it has opened doors in terms of search areas, and which is good. It's quite interesting. We've seen some clients that have, always been London based are now expanding to look, actually, can we tap into resource from other areas of the country for some of these remote jobs that we could have, and they come down to the office once a month kind of thing. So they're increasing their catchment area, thus looking for people further afield, which has a knock-on effect because London prices they normally charge a slightly better salary than elsewhere. Has a little bit of a knock-on effect. So kind of locally what they've got to do to compete. So it's good news for candidates looking further afield, etc. So we've definitely seen that for those kind of remote jobs. But there's always going to be a matter of fact for some of the lab-based stuff, you're going to have to physically be at the site at the location. So that's not changed too much in that respect.
To wrap up, do you have any kind of final advice for students, postdocs to make themselves attractive candidates, or anything that you would like to kind of finish up on that you'd like to share with us or let us know?
Yeah, I think we've definitely touched on it. I think don't be afraid to engage, have conversations, understand, like I say, understand what you're after yourself a little bit, have a little think about what you're hoping to achieve, but also come back to have the conversations to have a little bit of a feel of what's out there as well, and be open-minded to know that there's also happening. So yeah, I think just don't be afraid to engage, and make sure you're on LinkedIn as always. It's a great platform. It's become more important as a terms to kind of network as a kind of a live CV and profile of your career history. So don't be afraid to get on there, and just give it a call if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Owain.
No problem. Great to speak with you as well.
And that's all for this interview. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope you found today's session insightful and valuable. If you'd like to hear more interviews like this, then please check out the Antibody Society's website or YouTube channel. Now, membership is free for all students and postdocs, and we have some really great value for money memberships for our industry and academic partners. Please feel free to share this video and come check us out on our LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube pages. If you'd like to connect with today's speaker or reach out to us, then please check out some of the details in the description box below. And thank you again for listening.